Hello, I'm Fred Garbone. I'm one of the co-founders of the DSM Discovery Group. And today we are having a conversation with Dr. Trace Pickering, a longtime educational administrator in the Cedar Rapids School District. And he is going to be our presenter in our January 20th DSM Discovery Group on the topic of human-centered learning, a model for the future of education. Now, Dr. Trace Pickering is the co-founder and executive director of Iowa Big, a shared transformational educational program with the Cedar Rapids, Linn-Mar, Alburnett, and College Community School Districts. Trace is an educational entrepreneur focused on creating educational experiences and environments that unleash human potential and allow kids to be fully human. And Trace, we are so glad that you took time to have a conversation with us today so that we can get an overview, a taste of what's coming up in our January meeting. So, well, we have some questions that we'd like to learn about from you. So tell us, what exactly is Iowa Big, and why is this new educational model, why is it critical right now?
Yeah, thanks, Fred. It's great to be with you. Iowa Big is an educational model based on three foundational principles of passion, projects, and community. Our community recognized that the world was changing rapidly, and schools are really hyper-focused on content acquisition and memorization, and the real skills and the real things that people in the world want and need to be successful. It's not about what you know, it's about how you interact with other people, how you can work yourself through failures and disappointments, how you can build networks, how you can think on your feet.
Mm.
Iowa Big is a program that does just that. Students can earn core academic credit in English, business, social studies, some science courses and so forth, not through sitting in a classroom being told information to know, but instead by engaging in projects out in our community that they actually care about. So students get to choose, identify what their passions and interests are, and we help find them projects with business, nonprofit, and government agencies that have real outcomes, right? And companies have real needs. So the students are solving real problems and learning what all of these skills look like in real life. So instead of just doing work for a single teacher or to get a grade on a paper, they're actually contributing to their community, and that provides them such an empowering experience for themselves. As you know, that's an age where you're just trying to figure out who you are, what the world is about, and so we want to put them out in that world in supportive ways.
Great. So we know that all innovation challenges assumptions. That's just the nature of innovation. And so that raises the question, what long-held assumptions about school and learning might this model be challenging? What are you finding out?
Yeah, when we started, we had the gift of being able to challenge and question every assumption about school and then decide if it was still valid or not. Sadly, we found most of the assumptions are not valid any longer. They were assumptions from an age long past. A couple of quick examples. The assumption that students and humans in general are motivated solely or primarily by extrinsic rewards, grades, points, scores, GPAs, things like that. As most of us know, that's intrinsic motivation is where you find passion. That's where you find engagement in the true sense of accomplishment, right? So I'm doing this for myself to better myself and the people around me. So that was one. Another one was the idea that content was more important than context. And schools are hyper focused on content and making sure that kids know a bunch of stuff. But in reality, once we get out in the world, information is useless to us unless we understand how it applies in any given context, right? So the context of when you work in a church as a pastor versus being a consultant to a church or another organization. Those contexts are vastly different, and you have to apply your skills and acquire the content necessary to be successful in them. So that's what we try to do. We want the kids to be in contextually rich experiences, and then allow them to figure out and learn how to acquire the content and the information they need to be successful.
Well, we definitely look forward to learning more about contextual experiences in our January meeting. So another question is, how might this model be implemented in other communities? What steps could be taken?
Yeah, we've got several examples across Iowa, many more across the country, but there are several places, Okoboji, up around the New Hampton area, right there in Des Moines. The Waukee program is very similar in its design. So there are lots of examples, but really I think more than anything, you have to have courageous leadership. You have to have courageous leadership at the board level and at the central office level to try this on, because as you know, this looks and feels really different. And a lot of people will come in and say, well, that's not learning. Those kids are just kicking around with projects and having fun. So you have to have the courage to give a program time to mature and for the results to come. So I think if there's any single barrier to this kind of fundamental change, it's not wanting to buck tradition and not having the courage to help show people that there's a different, perhaps better way in our current context.
So you're encountering impatience for results.
Yeah, you battle that. And the other thing you often battle is the accountability measures, and the results that the traditional system produces is not the results that we want to produce, right? We aren't that interested in how much algebra 2 a student knows, since almost no one needs to know algebra 2, right? So coming up with a new measurement system to address the things that we care about in our community, frankly, and much of the world says is important, is a big challenge. And so for us, we made the very purposeful choice not to focus on measurement and assessment first, because that tends to push you into the existing paradigm. And thankfully, the schools here gave us that runway to help show that our model was in fact as rich or richer than a traditional experience.
Yeah, that's great. This is just going to be a wonderful learning experience here on the 20th. And I know that one thing we're also excited about in our group is the opportunity for people to go into breakout groups and do some practical processing and application of this model, and to explore how they might be able to implement this where they are. So that'll be an important learning opportunity for participants. Before we go, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm just excited to visit with the group, and the more non-educators who can understand what we're doing and why, the better. Because I think as we found when we started here, what people say they want and what they advocate for are oftentimes at odds.
Interesting.
And so we found a way to help participants, or to help our community understand that and recognize what they're asking and advocating for, what they're asking for and what they're advocating for at odds, and how can we make those things not at odds. And Iowa Big was one of their answers to that.
Okay. This is, well, Trace, we really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. And we look forward to being with Dr. Trace Pickering in our January 20th DSM Discovery Group. And so again, thank you for being with us today.
Yes, thank you.